take the time out to say a special good morning to our listeners and viewers. How is everyone doing this morning? Hope all is well with you. And on this lovely Wednesday morning, I can say lovely. The weather condition is also kind of weather condition that I like. Not too hot, not raining in my area. Of course, I've been seeing some the condition in other parts of the island. And it's kind of morning I like. It's kind of mild on the outdoors. So that's all well. Let's say good morning to those of you via social media platforms, Facebook page, YouTube channels. Good morning to you. Of course, I hope all is well in your neck of the woods, whatever part of the world you may be residing at. You're a Grenadian. Good morning to you. I certainly hope you're feeling A-OK also. So it's Government Wednesday. I usually call it on the To Point program for Wednesday. It's Government Wednesday. And of course, joining me this morning, I think this is like live TV, so you're going to do it live anyway. Good morning to you, sir. He's of course, a bit late this morning, but they say better late than never, right? Better late than never. We're going to save that joke for off air. We're going to save that joke for off air. Good morning to you, sir. We have the Honorable, of course, Ron RedHead with us this morning. Of course, he's the MP for St. George's Northeast, and of course, is also the PRO of the National Democratic Congress. And here with me this morning. So welcome. I already apologize for you being a bit late.
You're right.
But
I appreciate that. Yes, morning, and good morning to your listeners, both on radio, television, and both home and abroad as well.
All right. So how is everything this morning?
Well, apart from the hectic schedule this morning, it's going okay. I just visited a constituent turning 93 in the community of Bolio. So I just went to visit. She was instrumental in preparing the wreath for my grandmother, one of the wreaths for my grandmother when she passed.
Okay,
so,
great.
Just to show that appreciation and just to connect.
Show that love, as they would say.
Show that love. Yeah.
You know, there's this. You know, I was thinking the other day, and I said, your job is slightly different to most of the other ministers in some way or the other.
Right.
Because of the mere fact that you possess the time.
Right.
But you don't have that ministerial portfolio to focus on.
Funny enough, I never seem to have the time. Right?
you don't have that ministerial portfolio to worry about and balancing your constituency and so as some other ministers do.
Right.
You understand? But even as you mentioned, something you still don't have the time. Yeah. How is it for you, sir? Being an on the ground individual, as I would say, being on the ground, going through the different your constituency, and even other parts of the island. What is that feedback you're receiving from the average Grenadian out there, your constituent, or maybe going to areas that you're probably not in your constituency? What is that feedback you've been receiving in terms of the overall governance of the country, of course, by the National Democratic Congress?
Right. Generally, feedback is often positive. I think sometimes there are isolated incidents where, in terms of getting service through the public service, whether it is housing, the whole question of seed, those minor challenges in terms of the delays, the long wait times, to be able to be administered to people. But generally, I think people are satisfied with the direction of the country. The issues with cost of living, all these other challenges which the globe is facing, not just Grenada, and the uncertainties, the economic uncertainties. That is something that we are actively discussing. I think our role as government is not to misinform people and not to spread misinformation. These are things that are often beyond our control, not even just as a country, but as a region. And therefore, what we have to do is collectively come together to ensure that the solution is going to be something that is applicable to all, and everyone would be able to benefit. And so when often you have to discuss policies, it is around that. But generally, by and large, when we go down on the ground, and we engage and we interact, it's just a lot of love. I think people want to see more of the community coming together. Yeah. They always emphasize that. They would really like to see this old adage of a politician being this superhuman figure, so to speak, and when they go down on the ground, they mingle just as everybody else. They from the community and they interact and engage with people, not only when it's constituency day, but they are a part of the village, they are part of the community and the constituency.
You get that feeling, especially when you come down to some folks say you get to the level of the common individual on the ground. The individual may be unemployed, the individual may be underemployed, and you get to have those conversations with them, and you realize where they're coming from.
Right.
And sometimes you listen to the conversation they're having that you may not preview you to being in a different capacity to them, being in your offices and stuff, but you on the ground and you listen to their conversation, you get to understand, and you're able to do more.
Right.
You understand?
And not just do more, but you are able to actually address the issues that make the difference in the community.
Yeah.
Now, for example, one of the reasons why we ensured that what we were going to embark on in St. George Northeast was not just fix a drain, fix a road, but flood mitigation, right? In other words, we have no control over the rain. And in some instances, due to poor construction practices of the past, and when I say past, I'm not just referring to government, but even private individuals, when they build, they didn't take certain things into consideration. So the development, the expansion in certain areas, all of that was not properly, predicted. And therefore, when it comes, it creates with it its own level of challenge where the runoff, the flow, when you build a slope instead of putting steps, etc., and not having adequate drainage and so on. So what we've been doing was to look at all of that in its entirety. When I go with my road officer, we look a lot about how we can mitigate the flooding, how we can expand the road, how we can widen bridges, etc. And so for us, it is not just doing concrete in public infrastructure for the sake of it, but doing it because we are interacting with the people, we are engaging people. Sometimes it takes a little too long. I always often complain about that to make sure that we get things done. And this has nothing to do with the party in power or things like that, but the public service system.
That bureaucracy between
right,
there.
That bureaucracy sometimes takes a little too long to really turn. And it oftentimes could, get people disappointed. But the thing is, I think as a people, we need to ensure that we have the patience, because development does have a cost, and it does have the requirement to input the information. And so we can't do things vai and expect it to be solid. We can't be whooping and missing and so on. Yeah. So when you do something, you have to ensure that it is properly looked into and solid at the end of the day, that everybody could benefit.
So your role as the PRO of the National Democratic Congress, there's lots expected of you in this particular position.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that you have already started, or if you're not only started, but you are in the process of getting that plan rolling out, especially the engagement of people, informing them of the activities of the party. It was one of the complaints we've been hearing about the National Democratic Congress of people on the ground. Maybe you, with cabinet and stuff, you have those conversations.
Right.
But the people on the ground have limited knowledge of what's going on, especially from a governmental plan. So we hear in the talkway wayside or so, not lots of people may listen to the Government Information Service. Now, maybe a lot of people may be listening to this program, where information is thrown out to a point. Now, your plan, sir, especially getting the people involved in the activities of not only the National Democratic Congress as a party, but government in particular. Tell us about some of those activities and plans that you have to throw.
Well, the clear thing, without going into any specific details, but at least on the surface, the clear thing is to ensure that we build a team. Yeah. And the various ministers, MPs, senators, they are doing a wonderful job in interacting and engaging with their constituents. The Honorable Andy Williams had an event in Springs. I stand to be corrected, but it was over the holiday. Senator Claudette Joseph, she had an activity. Senator Gloria Thomas, she had an activity. You had Honorable Philip Telesford, he had an activity. Myself, we had an activity up in Lamode. Lamode had 3 days of fun, just enjoyment, etc. And by and large, throughout the entire country, there were activities throughout. And I think what we want to do, and it's always more difficult to communicate from a party standpoint when you're in government, because everything largely requires the line of march from a government perspective. Yes. And so you could get consumed easily with government prerogative. But as a party and an institution, we want to ensure that we build the party and the institution into the fabric of society. Not just only when around election time you call and you say, well, come vote for me, etc., but to be a part of the people. One of the things that we have done in the review constitutional process of the NDC is to ensure that we included the membership of groups. So we want to announce this because it's something that we intend to roll out in time to come, where even a credit union or a labor union could become a non-voting member of the National Democratic Congress. And they would have tremendous influence and power of the party and its policy or platform going into government and in other aspects of building society. And it's always good to have that collaboration, because I think people underestimate the power of political parties. They are strong when election comes about, but after that, largely they die. But what we need them to do is to constantly be alive and to be engaging the people, having fun, bringing people together, ensuring that we reduce on some of the idle time and the crime and the violence in that way. So we believe that this is the way to go. And it's one of the elements of the, I don't want to say new NDC, but a new energy that is emerging and emanating from the National Democratic Congress. And certainly our forefathers paved the way for us. Uncle Tilly, Brother Naz, and you name it, Brother George Brizan, they paved the way. And so our prerogative right now is to ensure that we continue passing that baton on to the next generation in good stead. So that's what we're doing.
Because, disengagement has always been a problem with political organization, especially in a small country as Grenada, which should be easier for a political party to always be engaging, to engage with their followers or party associates and so forth. And we always see that happens, during the process of when this election. We see Ron all the time. MP Ron, forgive me for saying that. Hope no one gets mad. Some folks are touchy on that, and they will say, I'm not seeing, I'm seeing you all the time.
Right.
You understand? And that disengagement, and you always leave to folks having those varying opinions. You understand?
Which
sometimes it's not your fault, directly or indirectly, it's not your fault. But, we always see folks having those opinions, well, I'm not seeing the minister, but now there's election, I'm seeing him all the time. You understand? I guess you guess where I'm coming from with that.
Of course. And it has been a historical problem. I think, as I said, the pressures of the office, never underestimate it. You might see a politician smiling and so on, but when you have to solve problems, and so long as you put yourself to it and you dedicate your entire political life to bringing benefits to people, it is going to be hard work. And sometimes you see politicians relaxed, just having a good time with people and so on. That's how they get their relaxation. And sometimes good old saying, if you really want to do something well, lose yourself in what it is that you're doing. And essentially what we believe and have embarked upon from the National Democratic Congress's standpoint is that we cannot take Grenada forward by ourselves. We have to work with the people to build Grenada. And working with the people means that we must get critique or criticized, opposition. We must get and accept when people congratulate for success in terms of decisions made, policies, because that is the process of getting it right.
I want to diverge into a different conversation for we begin. It always to be that topical conversation. You hear it from the regular individual on the ground. You hear it from the opposition speaking about it. I want you to talk to me about the importance of travel, especially from government ministers, the Prime Minister himself, Minister of Government. The importance of traveling and going out to other countries for the various reasons that they do travel for. I want you to speak to me about that. And maybe offer some clarification to that person who will be thinking differently. Because there's someone may have that different thought, but MP Ron always traveling, and I'm not seeing the benefits from him traveling and so forth. But talk to me in relation to that.
No, I think it's very important that we gauge the understanding of why public officials and in particular government ministers, permanent secretaries have to travel. Now, the reality is we operate in a global village. And Grenada, notwithstanding our beauty, our pristine waters, etc., we do not have sufficient to be able to generate the type of wealth and development that we need. And therefore, that global partnership is critical. Building it, diversifying it, is even more critical because you could have the opportunity, but if you don't make use of it, then you remain within your own circle. And so the travels often bring with it a certain measure of engagement, a certain measure of opportunity that we otherwise would not have to be able to gain benefits. I can think of one, Monroe University. Now, it is due to that question of the travel that we are able to bring this university back and fulfill one of our manifesto promises, which is to have a university graduate in every household throughout Grenada, similar to the eradication of pit latrines throughout the entire country, right? And so in order to make that a reality, we can't just sit and say, well, we'll tax taxpayers out to be able to pay for these things and so on. You have to find the collaborations, you have to find the friendship globally to be able to do that. So that's one of the major benefits. The other thing is that you would want to ensure that you improve your global presence as a political figure, one, and as a representative of your people in the country, two. You have to ensure that you're out there spreading the message of Grenada, whether it is our challenges, the issue of climate change, and which we saw last year, the ravages of Hurricane Beryl did to Carriacou and Petit Martinique in particular, or some other issue with, let's say, agriculture, and how do we strengthen our self-sufficiency and self-reliance in terms of the area of agriculture and the sector of agriculture. What are the things we need to do? Can we learn from other countries? Can we be able to survive in this economic uncertainty that is taking shape globally? And what are the elements that are working for one country or the other? So the engagement is necessary because it allows us to come out of the bubble. If we were to just stay and banter between government and the opposition, well, all in do this, in do that, in do this, we do this, and so on, then we get nowhere as a nation and as a people. And so oftentimes in a young government's whole life cycle, the need to build alliances and relationships is not understated. So you have to go out, you have to go and meet people, you have to go and show and represent your country, say what the problems are in your context in today's situation, and try to bring solutions back to Grenada. I think that is important and should not be underscored. Now, on the other hand, there is always the immediate response to say that we need to see the minister, that we need to see the MP, which we understand. And so one of the things we have done at the level of the National Democratic Congress is to institutionalize our whole activity on the ground. All right, I wouldn't say what we call it, but all ministers of government, they are out regularly as possible, at least 3 days for the week. They are out in the communities doing stuff. And you wouldn't see all of it online, through social media all the time, but it happens, it occurs. And so, again, the Honorable Prime Minister is doing a marvelous job, in my humble opinion, to be able to go out there, negotiate for the country, bring benefits back to our people. I am saying that he has a team that he has confidence in, that if he turns his back today in the sense that he goes to travel and meet somebody to bring benefits to Grenada, that they will get it done in terms of the local situation. So no one should feel the sense that if John is out, Mary can't do the work, and if Mary is out, John can't do the work. We operate as a team in the National Democratic Congress administration. All right.
And I certainly hope that brings some clarification to folks who maybe have been having those thoughts. But we drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we got much more to talk about. Stay with us. It's To The Point here, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We'll be right back after the short break.
When you need your...
Angie, don't you know that you should not fly kites near electrical poles and wires? You should only fly it in open areas. If the kite gets stuck, it can cause power outages throughout the village.
Then I'll just pull it down, Johnny. Simple.
No. You shouldn't do that. You can get shocked. You should call Glen at 237 and they will come and help.
Glen, energizing our Grenada.
Get ready, Grenada. The Maggie King of the Grill is back and bigger than ever. On Saturday, June 7th, Monroe's playing field transforms into the ultimate battleground for grill masters. Think you got what it takes? Then fire up those grills and show your skills. Registration closes Friday, April the 11th. So don't miss your chance to compete for that sizzling prize and bragging rights. It's food, fun, and flavor, all powered by Maggie. To register, call 407-8458. Maggie King of the Grill, where flavor rules. See you there.
Coming up on Caribbean Passport TV, it is the Caribbean's newest road running event with a unique twist. Famous landmarks, ocean and eco activities. St. Lucia has it all. What are the don'ts when it comes to posting on social media? Next gen chefs, comfy accommodation. It's all next on this station.
Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to The Point here, Classic Radio GBN TV. With me this morning, we have MP Ron RedHead with us this morning, and of course, he's the Member of Parliament for St. George's Northeast and also the PRO of the National Democratic Congress. MP, welcome back once again.
Thank you.
I want us to Dutch, and maybe you could talk on it briefly. That concern that I know lots of Grenadians here, of course, are thinking about and hearing about it. You know, we do a lot of online purchasing and all of everything, and we're hearing about these tariffs that's going to be may or may not affect us in some way or the other. We heard about of course, the American president. Yes, he have pulled back some and so forth, but there's always that knowledge of ease the concerns. And sometimes you being, of course, an MP, you could probably offer some kind of ease in terms of what you may see. I'm not sure how you may want to dissect it this morning. Right. But that trade and tariffs, how Grenada can be affected, of course, by the current world, that situation that's not only affect us, but it's worldwide right now. You know, and there are countries who may get affected of it even more than we will. Right. But you know, 99% of the things that we import, we come in Grenada here. I mean, we do limited exporting. Most of the time we export. So we're expecting that cost could rise in certain products that we may be importing all the time. Right. Tell us something in relation to that.
Well, for now, that's the expectation. But as mentioned, it is highly uncertain how this will play out. In fact, just last night I was reading an article online where the tariffs from China seem to be something that would be reconsidered by the U.S. administration. Yeah. And so, again, the uncertainty is never good for us, is never good for business. I think business would be able to flourish in a sense of predictability when they know exactly how the markets are going to operate. It's easier for them to be able to plan and project profits, etc. But the issue here for us is that we often would get caught up with these geopolitical situations, and caught up in the sense, as just mentioned, why we need to be out there diversifying our markets, so to speak, is that this very issue, we have no control over the situation with the tariffs. And whether we want to accept that or not, we have absolutely no control. Some of it is due to China's response to the U.S. In fact, I read another article last night, somewhere around 1 o'clock this morning, actually, that one of the vessels which went to trade with China from the U.S. was turned back by the Chinese authority. And so it brings with it a certain measure now of protectionism that was otherwise not what we wanted. To be able to rebound post-COVID-19, to be able to rebound post-Hurricane Beryl. And so for Grenada, it warrants us to relook even the last budget that we passed, because it was passed in the context of a particular situation, and the tariffs were not predicted at all at that point. While the uncertainty loomed, but they were not predicted, and so the whole announcement of them, etc., is going to weigh heavy on what we do going forward. And so what it really requires is a level of conversation for a lot of people, not just the economists, but even you as a private individual. How do you find the time now to look at your finances? Because the government can't do that for you. And so oftentimes when I hear people would comment about the hardship that the country is facing, they ignore their personal responsibility as to why they may be in a situation. Because poverty in some instances are in the mind. And if you grow up in a particular environment, you tend to continue what you saw. And so once you have the mindset to break from that and get rid of that kind of mentality, you can be able to do more things. So I think this global uncertainty requires all of us, individual organizations, communities, government, to relook how we operate in the future. But the key thing that we want to be able to, from a government standpoint and policy, is to build up some of our self-reliance and self-sufficiency. So one of the things that we did, because of the unpredictability of the U.S. market now, is to be able, the Prime Minister's recent trip, and him and the Minister of Foreign Affairs will give an update to the nation in due course. But his recent trip bordered around ensuring that we can diversify our airline markets and where we have access to people. The tourism product is critical to keep alive because in addition to construction and tourism for now, remember, we're just about 3 years in, just approaching there. These are the two sectors that are largely generating Grenada's growth. And so if one gets affected, the other may not have the dexterity to be able to keep the market alive because we still operate largely with the two-sector tourism, construction, economy. And so we need desperately to ensure that when we diversify, it is one, sustainable, and it is building the relationships not just for individuals, but for the country to be able to have sustained benefits in time to come. So knowing fully well that if we can't predict the US market, at least we would be able to have the buffer or the cushion of the new or emerging markets, UAE, etc., etc. So that's just to draw a link into the whole situation. And again, going back to the question of the travels, why we need to travel to go and do that right now. This particular period is very critical to build out the capacity to withstand these uncertainties and shocks that may come.
Great. I certainly hope that brings some clarification. I want to get onto a lighter note. Carifta games just wrapped up. Grenada. Good performance. Good performance. Your take on that?
Well, certainly my take, but certainly the take of the National Democratic Congress is we congratulate all the athletes, the coaches, the schools, the clubs, the communities, the parents, the family members who support our athletes. They are doing a tremendous job. And for that, we are very pleased. The Minister of Sports and her team, the Parliamentary Secretary as well, she attended Carifta with the athletes. So that is commendable. It's a long time since a head of state actually went through the whole motion with Carifta. Normally they go to Olympics, etc., and so on. And when I say head of state, sorry, a representative of the government, right? And so it was pleasing to have that return. And more so, I think the general mood and plan and focus of sports in Grenada is looking really, really good. We certainly as government take our responsibility very serious. Remember, we passed the sports policy. We spoke intensely in the past about this. I spoke here on GBN about it and the benefits that it will bring and how it will be able to organize sports and be able to turn out more athletes. And you see the support that athletes like Kirani James, Lyndon Victor, Kurt Felix, Anderson Peters would be able now to get when they reach on the global stage is something that I believe is driving the performance of our younger athletes because they now realize that there are benefits in working hard and achieving in the areas of sports. And so that incentive package that was introduced by the government of Grenada in 2023, I think is something that we believe has the potential to really benefit sports in Grenada and help drive the push that the athletes need in addition to what their coaches and all of the other support that they get.
We continue to see the growth of sport in Grenada, especially from the young athletes. We just saw they just recently concluded, intercall games. We see the potential of young individuals and the level of their performance. Some of them, it could be deemed as an international standard in terms of their level of performance. Now, you spoke of the policy and the other incentives, government now seeing the potential of young people in sport in Grenada. Maybe, what more do you think that government could do to raise that bar even higher than it already is at, for young people in sports in Grenada? Because, we know of a lot of young people that may have performed great in the past, and then, they get dropped by the wayside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you see that talent that they have just get sucked off into other avenues that sometimes is not even benefiting them in the long run. You're thinking what more you think government could do?
Well, the whole concept of sports tourism will play a key role in terms of post your secondary school, post college, TAMCC, etc. So one of the things that this government was keen to do was to broaden and deepen our sports tourism policy at the level, certainly at community, but certainly from a national level, meaning that we were able to introduce, for example, the whole question of rugby. Because remember, athletics is one aspect of the sports. Yeah. And so we need to always ensure that we are diversifying, again, common word, in the whole scheme of things, what we do. Yeah. Because we ought not to rely just on two areas for achievement. Cricket, now doing the renovation of the stadium, the cricket stadium, and now including for the first time and having for the first time the lights installed is going to go a long way in helping to return in a big way night cricket, right? And what that does is that from an economic standpoint, it helps to give the vendors, etc., people an opportunity to be able to generate some extra income that they otherwise would not be able to generate. And it also helps to craft a niche for Grenada in the area of night cricket in particular. It helps because you're going to play it more, you are going to have more local competitions, and you are going to be able to see greater returns in terms of athletes now turning out in various sporting disciplines. But this alone is not being weighed by the government. I think we must acknowledge now an increase in private sector support for sports, and acknowledging it meaning that we have to commend them for embracing, sponsorships and not just the sponsorships, but carrying some of the athletes, from the very humble beginnings into the bigger world. This is going to go far because in the past, the tremendous cost that one athlete has to bear, or their parents and so on in the past, was just too much to make them reach as far as Carifta, much less Olympics and so on. And so we had to get that collaboration at the level of government and private sector to be able to really lead out the kinds of athletes that we want to be very competitive on the world stage. So looking at the whole concept of sports tourism and sending our athletes out to perform, to break records, to earn medals is the goal. Because when they start here and they train in Tantine or they train wherever the playing field is, that's only one aspect, but it's the beginner's aspect, the foundational aspect. And then what happens beyond that, that's where the national sports policy comes in now. Yeah. How do you identify that talent? But more so, how do you keep that talent alive and train it to become successful?
The spin-off effects
and then the spin-off it has.
Also.
That's correct. Because, look, Kirani James's story is one that all of us could be appreciative of. Yes. And we like good stories in Grenada, meaning that he came from humble beginnings. And his achievement in sports, although he's humble, and he still remains humble, is something which, in a sense, placed him on a different trajectory in terms of his life and quality. And so there are benefits to hard work. There are benefits to hard work. And again, what you need is support to be able to take you where you need to go.
And of course, the guidance also plays an important role. Yeah. For the coaches, the other mentorship that comes along with it.
But there's also some challenges because some schools are without coaches. Yeah. So the Minister of Sports and her team certainly have been looking at it. She personally spoke to me about a solution that they're working on. It's very exciting times for the world of sports, and I just want to wish all of them their very best. We had boxing that was struggling for a long time. We were able to work with them, and they are now doing really, really good based on the reports that I have been hearing. The Swimming Association, we have displayed significant attention. I think when we just came in, there was a tropical system that affected the Good Hope facility, and within a matter of weeks, the Good Hope facility was repaired. And so it speaks to our whole commitment to the sporting fraternity in Grenada and throughout, even in Carriacou. Carriacou has the plan to complete a international standard tennis court. That is going to do wonders for it as a destination. Again, sports tourism.
Yes. All right, great. MP, we drew for a break. Let's take when we come back. We got much more in the next segment. Next segment, we also invite, of course, our listeners and viewers. If there are a question or two you want to ask the minister, feel free to do so when we come back. Stay with us, folks. Don't touch it dial. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV.
Attention. Hey GBN family, we've got a brand new home on Facebook and you need to be there. Follow us now on Facebook at Grenada Broadcasting Network -GBN. Stay updated with the latest news, sports, entertainment, and everything Grenada. Don't miss out. Like, follow, and share. Grenada Broadcasting Network. Stay informed, stay ahead. First with the news, fast with the updates.
Got something to share?
Call us at 440-1252.
WhatsApp 405-3052 or 407-8458.
Or email gbnnews@gbn.gd.
GBN News, first, accurate, voted #1.
Like a freestyle, the life block flowing mile by mile. It's legacy, a beat that don't stop like Bob Marley said. One love on top, BCH water out of sight, but it's always wrong, don't lose the light. From factories and wells so deep, corals, mangroves and fish they weep. Green water for the garden, keep it green. Save the cash and the earth gets clean. We use the water with a mindful mind. It's out of sight but never far behind. In nature, the answers always flow. Like water running pure, the cycle grows. It renews itself, same drop, same beat. It's all good, man, you got the heat. Water flow, water flow. No clean water, no pipes we grow. Protect our water, protect our future.
Time to go.
Heritage Theatre presents Breaking Out, the Grenada Love Story, featuring Robert White and Lisa Grappi, written and directed by Chris DeRiggs.
But I still love you, Richie.
You love me and you're hard in me. 4 big performances, Saturday 24th and Sunday 25th May at the Grenada Trade Center, Saturday 31st May and Sunday 1st June at Deluxe Cinema in Grenville. Showtime 7 p.m. sharp.
He's the love of my life, Auntie. You have to marry a man for other things besides love, child.
Get your tickets at Mitchell's Pharmacy in Grand Anse, Gittins Health and Wellness Wall Street, Gabriel's Pharmacy Pedmata, St. David Pharmacy, St. Andrew Pharmacy, Art and Soul Boutique at Spiceland Mall, 3B's Shoe Store, and GoToFed.com. Breaking Out. Come out and enjoy Grenadian theater at its best.
This ad complements Classic Lighting Caribbean.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to The Point here, Classic Radio GBN TV. We have with us, of course, MP Ron RedHead with us this morning. And, of course, we'll be taking your call shortly. But I just want to get some details from you, MP, pertaining to the, Town Hall meeting coming up in St. John.
Yes.
Yes, so when you share some details in relation to that, and just maybe highlight on somebody what the folks should expect coming up before we start gravitating to the calls.
Right, that's correct. And so the Town Hall meeting is on today, in fact, Wednesday, 23rd April. 2025 at 6 p.m. It's going to be held at the St. John's Anglican School. Buses are available to and from the venue. So what you need to do is to contact your different constituency offices. That is the government constituency offices. We don't know if opposition would be interested in busing anybody to the town hall, but but your government offices. So we're going to be discussing at this town hall in particular. The main issue is the new MNIB and matters of national interest. You're going to hear the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister would be there, along with his ministers. You're going to hear the Minister of Agriculture. And you're going to see the team generally giving updates in various areas. I would encourage the public to feel free to come in, ask questions, engage your members of parliament, and hear from them, what's taking place. And let's do it in a cordial fashion, because at the end of the day, we have a country to build, and we are all Grenadians, one way or the other.
All right. And that's going to be interesting, because there's always a topical conversation related to that new MNIB. So shall we hear more details in relation to that? I wouldn't focus more questions on you in relation to it now. I will request that people go out to the meeting, to the town hall meeting.
Right, and then we could have the questions
and
after.
Then probably next week we could have some more discussion on that in terms of what was mentioned. Let's go to the phone line. 435-2041, both the WhatsApp and the direct line is now open. Free to give us that call. Caller, we have our first caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Telesford. Can you hear me well, sir?
Loud and clear, sir. Go right ahead,
Hallelujah.
Please.
Good morning to your guest there, Mr. Mr. Telesford, sitting here and listening to Mr. RedHead there. It just certifies to me that, in fact, we've been duped for 51 years under this imperial order and council of the Queen's most excellent majesty, this farce. And what we're having is a total abuse of the principle of separation of powers. Look, Mr. RedHead has this morning demonstrated clearly that he has 4 positions. Impossible. He is first the representative of the constituency, which establishes clearly in the so-called constitution that he's a member of parliament, a lawmaker, a legislator. But that is the only thing he didn't talk about this morning. What of the legislative agenda, sir? That is your duty. You there representing a party. Parties don't run government. We've made that mistake already. We had to get rid of that. You are a PR of a party. That's party business. Doesn't associate with government's business. You're not a member of the executive. You have spoken elaborately on it. Why don't you join me, Mr. RedHead? Should I phrase it in a different way? Will you join me, Mr. RedHead, to call upon the ruling class, the political imperial class, to get the people together to rewrite the constitution so that we can correct this farce? Thank you very much for what it is worth.
Yes. Thank you, caller. Appreciate your call this morning.
Yes, Brother Rolo has been advocating that for a long, long time. I wouldn't add anything to it, but what I would say is that, look, the constitution of the country, to have it amended, changed, you get a new one totally, will require tremendous same political will. I am saying that at this point, this is not a major priority of any political organization I know, but it is something that we can certainly consider to have the dialogue on and amend in time to come. I think his whole point about the authority which lies in the Queen or the kingdom right now, so to speak, is something which we really want to encourage the public to have dialogue on. The government is neither here nor there on it, in the sense that we are not trying to shove anything down anybody's throat. We have no ulterior motives where that is concerned. And if people do believe that the constitution needs to be reformed, they have the time and the government has a listening ear to entertain the conversation around it.
All right. 435-2041, the lines are open. If you do have a question or two you may like to, of course, ask the MP, feel free to do so. Someone is saying there, and of course, it kind of grabbed my attention. They're talking about sport tourism. Right. And of course, they're saying that it's big in the sense that great emphasis should be go towards cricket, football, athletics, netball, swimming. And therefore, of course, when our sports people develop, they could be contracted internationally and bring that foreign in exchange to our country.
So that's the whole concept, but Grenada is not there just yet. So we're still developing our niche, so to speak, right? We're not there just yet, but the contributor is spot on in terms of where we need to be.
All right, great. We do have another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to Mr. Redhead.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. You spoke about the new marketing board and bring it back. But there's something what you call marketing board had the customers. They buy from the farmers, and they have the customers who they sell to, mainly businesses and individuals, and maybe they export. I don't know. But when you kill that, how do you bring it back? It's not just like that. It's very difficult to kill a business and bring it back. So I hope you guys know that. It's very, very difficult to start back a business. So I don't know how you guys are going to do that. Talking about it is talking about bringing it back to the level and even better than how it was is very difficult. Hope you guys understand that. The second point I want to make is that with 4 pasture, now you guys give a guy a contract. I don't know what the business there, but some of the person didn't know what they were doing. Hence that all the schools in St. Patrick's had to move out sporting activities from that area and go to Grenville and Poetry. GBN wasn't aware of that. He put an added cost on all the schools up here to move their sporting activities out of St. Patrick's. Now, when you took office, you fire all the groundsmen, remember that time, and hire new guys. The new guys didn't even know what they were doing. So you had to go back and hire the old guys. So it seemed like something about the decisions you guys make on issues that would affect people. A lack of thinking. Because you give a guy a contract in 4, they might have no knowledge about how to do a grant. And then you have to go back and give somebody the contract and run around. So these things are just uncertainty that will create problems. So I hope in the future we do something better and create a calm atmosphere in when we do things. I will nice about that.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
Thanks, caller. So let me just say on your first issue, that is a defeatist approach that you have taken. Today we can report that marketing board as its current entity, with all the downsizing, etc., and reformatting that the government did, has now made profits. Secondly, as it relates to the issue of the 4 pasture. Yes, the contractor is the one who did a very poor job. He was awarded the contract. Minister Lecret was the Minister of Sports then. And so, remember, you had an exit of Minister Lecret, and that particular project did not go according to standard. But we do have success. Victoria Park in Grenville is a major success, and it was done under this administration as well. You spoke something about firing all contractors. Caller, that is not true. And I want to make it absolutely clear that what we did was groundsmen. In some instances, whose contracts were either long overdue, you had to now place them with certain people or different people rather. And what we tried to do was to give some of the daily paid workers the opportunity to be able to upkeep some of the pastures and playing fields. This was done. We reformatted, and now we have facility managers. In some instances, it's going well. In other instances, it's not so well, and which we have to acknowledge. But to make it look as if we turned up the whole system and everything is helter-skelter, that's not true. There are some facilities that are much better when we took office than they were in the past.
Okay, great. We do have another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning for taking my call. Mr. Rolo has expounded very much on the Constitution. I have before me here a bookmark, Constitutional Review in Grenada. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a date, but I think probably it is a few years now, since 20-somebody. Here we have one Justice Liverpool. We also have one QC Carol Bristol. We also have one Basil Hosford as members, and Deputy Chairman Randolph McIntosh. Well, when I go further inside of this book here, this book tells me clearly that It is therefore instructive that neither the document which terminated Grenada's status as an associated state of the United Kingdom, nor the existing constitution of Grenada is an enactment of the Parliament of Grenada. It also goes further to say, further, the Constitution has never received legislative approval by the Parliament of Grenada. And I can continue reading along this book. I am stressing to you, sir, I am not a political supporter. I have never been that since the 1979 revolution. I was imprisoned for some 2.5 years because I confronted Maurice Bishop on this idea. He had promised on the morning of March 13th, through the voice of Hudson Austin, free and fair elections will be held within 6 months. And among other things, he had made promises, and he failed. I am saying to you and your present administration, please, don't tell me then that about it's going to take some time and it's going to take a cost and it's going to take a whatnot, etc. Now is the time we have to adjust it and let us get it straight. Because I am saying to you, one term, apparently NDC is very good at one term, or probably I should say a one-night stand by John. Have a good day to you all, sir.
Can you respond to the call?
Yeah, just quickly, just to add, look, this issue of the Constitution not being enacted does not hold water in law. And I've had this conversation already. Once something is practiced, it becomes the law. I mean, irrespective of what you're saying there, caller, which I think is the issue. To Brother Rollo, with all due respect, my brother, the manner in which you are raising this is going to lead to confusion and chaos. We have to be more professional and measured in terms of raising this. If it is a genuine concern, come to a discussion. Let us sit quietly, discuss this, get who we need to get the stakeholders involved, then come with the solution and bring it. But to pretend as if you have the glorious answer for everything and then turn around, and not Brother Rolo now, I'm speaking to the last caller, and then make this claim about do this now, do that. This is not how governance operate. We have to get people involved. We can't just go doing stuff without getting people involved, because that is going to cause problems. I'm saying to you that even if you have concerns with the present constitution, the fact is, in most cases, the present constitution has been able to save many people, including public officers today, to give them their pensions and gratuity. So let us not look at it by throwing out the baby with the bathwater and saying, well, it's not good entirely. I'm saying that there are aspects that we think we need to change. I agree with you. But let's do it in a manner that could actually encourage and bring about change.
Let's take another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning, you're live. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning, you're live. Guess the caller is not there. Let's try another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning, you're live. I am not sure what's going on with the caller there. Let me see if I can have that rectified. Caller, good morning. You're live.
Good morning, GT.
Good morning, Chi. How are you doing this morning?
Hey, not too bad. Morning, my family. What's going on?
Morning. I'm good.
Go right ahead,
Ron, you got 2 NNP back to back, boy. But anyway, Ron, I just want to ask you something concerning for the the meeting today in Guava, right? Would we be hearing something from Nazin Buck also too? Because I know, like, he mentioned that they had got some of the papers. So would we getting any update during that meeting?
Well, no, not quite. It's not on the agenda, but it's something that I could pass on from today to find out whether or not we could have a direct update in terms of what was gathered from the company as an update from the previous or first town hall.
Okay.
Okay, yesterday, Ron, there was a gentleman that represented the youths from NMP. And he make a couple of pronouncements concerning, like, the way the Prime Minister leave and the cost of it. I don't know if you want to highlight on it, because to me it don't really make any sense, but I just train it all day. Let me just get rid of that one time. Right. And you have a beautiful day. Looking forward to the meeting later.
All right. Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. We do have another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, good morning. Could you hear me?
We're hearing you. Go right ahead, please.
Okay, I have a question. This is not by investment. I would like to find out, how could you hold a Grenadian passport and not a citizen of Grenada? And we are under the British Constitution. That's my question.
Thank you, caller. I'm not sure you want to respond to that.
Well, I'm not sure that I can respond to that, but I will note the concern. I think the caller is referring to someone holding a Grenadian passport and not being a citizen. But that seems contradictory. I'm not too sure. Because for you to hold a passport, you got to be a citizen, whether by investment or otherwise. You got to be a citizen.
Of the sort, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's take our final caller for the morning, and then we get some closing comments from you, sir. We lost that caller there. 435-2041. I'm assuming if that caller comes really quickly, we probably can entertain. Caller, you're live. Good morning. You're my final caller. Be brief, please. Good morning.
Yeah, but good morning, sir. How are you today? And morning to the minister.
Morning to you.
Yes, well, I heard he mentioned something about professional. Well, I'd really like to meet a professional in Grenada, because to be professional in Grenada, the first thing, no one in Grenada knows anything about time, keeping time. And that's the first place I put changing a professional. And my thing is with these governments, I tell them it's like a tree. What I have to say, the best government pass in Grenada, and they condemning it, is Gary government. Now, the things they are doing now, and they condemn what he did. Let me tell you, this generation, what Sir Eric did for my great-grandmother and grandparents, this generation don't know, but he did a great lot to bring us where we are. And even what we are living on and doing on is because of Mr. Eric. No man is perfect, no government is perfect. So they all are the same branch, same tree. So I think they have to take a look at this thing where they have town hall meeting. The example for Mr. Gary is, he goes to every village. He used to use that as a, we call them the people too. But now you have a town hall meeting. You have a town hall meeting in the trade center for everybody in Grenada. No, you have to go in every district and have a town hall meeting for the people at that area. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Also our final caller this morning.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you want to respond to anything the caller mentioned. And then we get some closing.
Just to quickly say, I and the National Democratic Congress is not engaged in criticizing any previous governments. I think in a sense that notwithstanding that the opposition is a previous government as well, but in a sense that their contribution to the country, we acknowledge that, and we said from day one when we came in 2022, what are the good things we keep and what are the things we need to enhance. We will do so, and we will get rid of accordingly to ensure that we build Grenada. But maybe I should just go right into the closing remarks just to say thank you very much for the opportunity. I know people have concerns, but I think sometimes we have to be measured. 3 years in, there is a process. We cannot fix every single thing under the sun all at once. And therefore, let's say we go in and reform Constitution. If Grenada gets hit with another hurricane, how do we respond to that? What are the things that we need to do? The laws and so on, which are there, they would either have to be placed under the new constitution. How does that factor into the existing one? So there are a number of things that we have to look at. So we cannot simply go about building Grenada vai. We must have a plan. We believe in Vision 75. We have placed that on the table. And if you believe constitutional reform, Brother Rolo, is something that we must do, you don't have to get emotional about it. I know for a fact you could speak to me, make the arrangement. I could speak to you. We don't have to make no political thing out of it. We could have a proper conversation on this. We could have all the information, and I will do my utmost best at the level of Parliament to raise this as a concern that you and others have raised, and working along with the National Democratic Congress. You need the political support, because go out and vote for the reform. You have to get the political support from both major political parties and any other that has emerged. So let's work together to build Grenada rather than, blame and destroy.
I want to thank you once again for being with us this morning. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program. And best wishes for the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Again soon.
Yes, man. All right.
Hey, folks, that's what we're going to take a wrap for today's edition. Actually, I was speaking to you, my microphone was off. You imagine that, right? What's the reason that happened? Folks, yes, we're going to take a wrap for this edition of To The Point for today. I want to thank all who contributed towards today's program. And MP Ron, for those who probably missed it, I want to thank you once again for being on today's program. Hey, folks, that's a wrap for us. Have a good one, folks. Goodbye.